today's shooting demonstration, we're going to go over better understanding and using your G7 reticle. Now, if you look here, we've got a representation of our G7 reticle. Let's just quickly go over what all these hash marks mean, okay? Left and right, we have hash marks for every minute. So you've got 1 through 10 minutes on the horizontal plane. On the vertical, each one of the hash marks equals 1/2 minute. So you've got a half, 1, half, 2, half, 3. Okay, very simple. Now, since our scope is second focal plane, by changing the power, that will change the apparent size of the reticle. So when we're at 22 power, all these hash marks are 1 minute apart. When we're at 11 power, it doubles that, so now they're all 2 minutes apart. And when we're on 5.5 power, it quadruples it. Each one of these is going to be 4 minutes apart. Now that's very important when we get into ranging and sizing up different objects in the field. Okay, now that we know what each one of these hash marks represents in the field, let's go over using this reticle to size something up out in the field. Okay, let's say we've got a big mule deer buck out there, and you've ranged him at 800 yards. Okay, so we're going to take this reticle and we're going to measure inside his rack, and let's say that it's 1, 2, 3, 4 minutes at 800 yards. The math is very simple. 1 minute at 800 yards is 8 inches. We times that by our 4 minutes wide, we get a buck that's 32 inches wide. Very simple to do in the field. It'll help you as a hunter, it'll help you as a shooter to measure your groups. You can easily just do the math right there and measure how big the object is, or the group size, or the animal is downrange. Okay, now we know how to measure something in the field. Let's go one step further and let's show you how to range using the reticle. Now there's a very simple equation. It goes target height, or the height of the target, divided by the number of the MOA that you measured it at, times 100 equals your range. Okay? So let's start out with an example. We've got a target that's 30 inches wide, and we measure it with our reticle, using the up and down on the reticle there, and we measure it to be 5 minutes. So you divide that by your 5, and that equals 6. Now the last half of the equation is times 100 equals your range. So we times that 6 by 100, and that would equal 600 yards. That is a very simple equation to use in the field for you as a hunter or a shooter to quickly range something. Let's say if your rangefinder breaks, or you lose the battery, or whatever it may be. Alright, now that we know how to range in the field, let's take that one step further and let's actually range a game animal in the field. So let's use a bighorn sheep, for example. We're going to use the back to brisket dimension on an animal to effectively range this animal. So let's say back to brisket on a bighorn sheep, is 24 inches. So we're going to use 24 inches back to brisket. Okay? We measure up that bighorn sheep in our reticle, and he measured 4 minutes back to brisket. So we'll take and divide this by our 4 minutes, and that's going to equal 6. The second half of the equation, of course, is times 100. And that's our yardage. That bighorn sheep was at 600 yards. Very simple math to do in the field, just in case, something fails in your rangefinder, or you drop it and break it. Now you've got a secondary way of ranging in the field. Alright guys, stay tuned for my next shooting demonstration. We're going to take this out in the field, and we're going to range and shoot animals out in the field just using our reticle.